This shocked the nation. In a country exhausted by crime headlines, a single name is now being shouted louder than sirens. LtGen Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. And the pressure to place him at the very top of SAPS is no longer quiet, polite, or patient. This is not a rumor drifting through social media. It's a groundswell moving from town halls to taxi ranks, from community forums to national radio, and it's accelerating fast. If you want the full picture of how this moment built up and where it could lead, subscribe now and stay with this story until the end. For months, frustration has been simmering, but what's different this time is the clarity of the demand. Enough is no longer just a slogan, it's a verdict. Viewers who want context beyond headlines should subscribe and watch through, because what's unfolding isn't just about one man. It's about a system being tested in real time. Stay to the end, because the final moments reveal why this pressure may be impossible to ignore. This conversation isn't happening in whispers anymore. It's happening in daylight, in communities that feel they've waited too long for decisive leadership. Subscribe, stay locked in, and watch this entire breakdown, because every layer of this story explains why South Africans are drawing a line right now. It starts with a blunt reality many people feel daily. Crime fatigue has turned into anger. Communities speak of robberies that repeat, cases that stall, and criminals who seem unafraid. In that frustration, Mkhwanazi's name keeps surfacing as a contrast, an officer associated with firmness, visibility, and consequence. The idea spreading is simple. Leadership style matters. Silence feels expensive. What surprises many is how broad the support has become. This is not confined to one province or one demographic. Business owners, commuters, and ordinary residents echo the same sentiment in different words. When pressure crosses social lines, it changes character. Momentum becomes harder to dismiss. Another layer is timing. South Africa isn't debating this in a vacuum. It's happening amid heightened public scrutiny of law enforcement performance. Each high-profile case magnifies expectations. In moments like this, people search for symbols of control. Names become shorthand for hope or disappointment. Mkhwanazi's reputation feeds directly into that symbolism. Stories circulate of operations run tightly, of discipline enforced visibly, of officers knowing consequences are real. Whether every story is perfect almost doesn't matter. Perception shapes public mood. Perception drives pressure. There's also a deeper emotional undertone, dignity. Many community voices say this isn't only about safety, but about being taken seriously. When people believe leadership listens and acts, trust grows. When they don't, pressure hardens. Trust is fragile. What makes this push unusual is its persistence. It hasn't faded after a news cycle. Each week the call resurfaces stronger, framed less as a request and more as a demand. That shift changes the political temperature. Demands linger. Inside policing circles, this conversation is reportedly watched closely. Appointments at this level are never simple. They balance politics, experience, and optics. But when public sentiment becomes loud, it enters that equation whether invited or not. Another striking element is how language has sharpened. Enough is enough signals exhaustion, not impatience. Exhaustion doesn't cool easily. It either burns out or ignites change. There's also comparison at play. Citizens compare visible leadership with perceived inertia. When contrast grows too sharp, it becomes uncomfortable for decision makers. Contrast creates questions. Questions demand answers. Media amplification adds fuel. Each interview, each panel discussion repeats the same name, reinforcing association. Repetition builds narrative. Narrative builds expectation. Behind all of this sits fear of losing control of public confidence. Law enforcement relies on cooperation. When confidence erodes, effectiveness follows. That reality weighs heavily on any national strategy. At the midpoint of this story, what stands out is not just support for Mkhwanazi, but rejection of ambiguity. Communities are saying uncertainty feels like neglect. Clear direction feels overdue. As the discussion deepens, critics also emerge, warning against personality-driven solutions. They argue systems matter more than individuals. That tension sharpens debate, keeping it alive. Debate sustains attention, yet even criticism circles back to the same issue: urgency. Whether pro or cautious, everyone agrees delay carries cost. Cost is the unifying concern. Another overlooked aspect is morale within SAPS. Leadership signals ripple downward. Officers watch appointments closely. They read them as messages about discipline, standards, and expectations. Signals matter. This pressure campaign also reflects a broader global pattern. Around the world, communities push for leaders who appear decisive during insecurity. South Africa is not isolated in this impulse. Context widens understanding. What makes this moment delicate is balance. Responding too fast risks backlash. Responding too slowly risks alienation. Leadership choices rarely feel comfortable at times like this. Discomfort shapes outcomes. As days pass, silence becomes louder. Every non-statement is interpreted. Every delay is analyzed. In the age of instant reaction, waiting itself communicates something. The final stretch of this story is where consequences loom. If the call is ignored, communities may interpret it as dismissal. If it's embraced, expectations will soar immediately. Either path carries weight. What's clear is that this is no longer a fringe conversation. It has entered mainstream political and social discourse. Once there, it rarely disappears quietly. Whether LtGen Mkhwanazi ultimately leads SAPS or not, this moment marks a shift. Public patience has transformed into public pressure. That transformation is the real headline. And as this chapter closes, the question hanging in the air isn't only about a name. It's about whether institutions can still hear the people they serve, clearly and in time.